Now, a group of bereaved family and friends are calling for more awareness of the dangers of methanol poisoning abroad. Methanol can be found in spirits in tourist hotspots such as Thailand, Indonesia or Laos. And it's not always easy to tell whether the alcohol you're drinking is bootleg. Well, the effects can be life-changing or even fatal, as Ollie Constable now reports.
Kirsty was one of those 1 in a billion people. She was incredibly magnetic. The world really is a sadder place for her not being in it. She was a very special person. Kirsty had lived in Bali for 8 years, and myself too. We knew the culture really well. We loved living there. We were having a few drinks at Kirsty's place before going out. And unfortunately, that was laced with methanol, and we had no idea. And then a day and a half later, after having very bad, what we thought were hangovers, I got a phone call that Kirsty had passed away.
We were actually on holiday in France when we got the phone call, and I hadn't realised that her fiancé had been trying to phone me again and again and again during the night. And I said, has something really bad happened? And he said, very bad, and then he couldn't talk. And I had to say to him, has she died? Because he couldn't see it.
Kirsty's story is sadly not a one-off. Chesney was 23 when she went on holiday to Indonesia. She bought a sealed bottle of gin from a shop and then became very unwell.
Just before she started having the fit and when she'd first arrived at the hospital, she'd said to her boyfriend, I'm really, really scared. And then that was basically the last time because she was in an induced coma. We had to make the decision to actually turn off the life support machine. And then she passed away.
Methanol is highly toxic and can form in the manufacturing process of spirits. It can then be sold over the bar in shots, or like with Chesney, it can be found in seemingly legitimate sealed bottles of alcohol bought from shops.
Her father went back out there. He purchased a bottle of the same gin and brought it home, and then they took it away and tested it.
It was 66,000 times the legal limit of methanol in the bottle. So when they tested it, they said 2 shots could have killed a fully grown man.
Checked into the local hospital and they're all diagnosed with food poisoning, completely misdiagnosed.
For the people in this room, all their stories are slightly different, but all involve methanol poisoning. They're bereaved parents, friends, survivors. Calum has never spoken before about what happened to him.
Yeah, I'd never heard anything about it.
When he was on holiday in Laos last year, methanol poisoning has left him blind.
It was my first holiday that I'd been on sort of on my own. I think the drinks that I had, they were offering free whiskey and vodka shots. In terms of when I thought something might be wrong, I mean, not really until the next day. I remember like having this sort of like kaleidoscopic blinding light in my eyes, and to the point at which I couldn't see anything. And I said to my friends, that it was strange, but we thought, it was probably food poisoning. And I remember we were sitting in our hotel room, my friends and I said to them, why are we sitting in the dark? Someone should turn a light on. And they said to me, there is a light on in here. But then once I got back to England in the hospital there, that's when I think they said, they heard cases of poisoning at this particular hostel. And I actually found out that 2 girls that we'd been out with on that evening had died as well.
Calum had been staying here, a now infamous hostel in Laos. The day after he'd been there, another British tourist, Simone White, drank in the same bar. She too became unwell and was placed into a coma.
I got a message from one of the friends she was with, just saying, just to let you know, we're all in hospital. Simone has been the worst affected out of all 3 of us. Flew out the next day, knowing basically she was going through brain surgery and kind of like expected the worst anyway, to be honest. It's very hard to come to terms with what's happened. Were you aware of methanol poisoning before you travelled to Laos?
A campaign by people such as Sue and her friend Amanda has seen the school curriculum change in England, with students being taught about methanol poisoning from next year. The Foreign Office recently updated its travel advice too, for countries such as Laos, warning about counterfeit brands and accepting free drinks in hostels and bars. But for people here, their campaigning goes on.
I would never want anyone to not travel to different places and experience different cultures. It's about being informed and having the knowledge to make better and safer choices.
I obviously regret drinking those drinks, but there's not much I can do about that now. I felt that, given that I was lucky enough to survive, I had maybe a bit of a responsibility to try and prevent the same thing from happening to other people.
There are so many different people who've come forward and said that they have suffered methanol poisoning through many different routes. And I think it's our responsibility to make sure that our loved ones haven't died in vain. Would you play Russian roulette with your life if you knew what the circumstances could be? I don't think anybody would.
That report by Ollie Constable, he's written up an article online as well with a lot more testimony as well, a really important message there.